Hola clase, hoy vamos a hacer capítulo 11, Intro to the Subjunctive. So este es un nuevo tema. This is a new theme. The subjunctive is not something that we've covered before, pero no pasa nada. It's really similar to formal commands, so you already have a general feel for how it's going to go. But what is the subjunctive? ¿Qué es el subjuntivo? The subjunctive is relating or denoting verbs expressing what is imagined or wished or possible. So, for example, an expression in the subjunctive would be, I wish were Friday. I wish it were Friday, right? So this is a desire or hope or wish that I have. So vamos a comenzar. We're going to start. So one way to ask somebody to do something or to express a request or desire that another person do something is to use this subjunctive construction. So this one is called the present subjunctive. So there's a couple different forms we're going to go over after this. There's a subjunctive with emotion. There's a subjunctive with volition. Today we're just doing the basic intro. So querer plus que is what you're going to most see because you want somebody to do something, and querer means I want. Quiero que me hagas un favor. I want you to do me a favor. Quiero que me hagas un favor. The second example, mi madre quiere que mi hermano la lleve al mercado. My mom wants my brother to take her to the store. It's what she wants, right? We're expressing something that might not happen, expressing what you wish to happen. So you'll notice that the verbs in blue text are expressed in a form that you may not have seen before. These verbs are conjugated in the present subjunctive. For now, all you need to remember, is that when the first clause of the sentence contains querer, the querer case structure, it will be followed by a clause with a verb or verbs in the present subjunctive. So anytime you see querer plus que, like right here, present subjunctive comes after it. Okay, so you have already learned, it's supposed to be the opposite, but that's okay. You have already learned some present subjunctive forms as formal commands and negative informal commands. So remember that these forms are based on the yo form of the present indicative, but with the opposite vowel ending. This means that AR verbs will have an E in the present subjunctive, and endings and ER and IR ending verbs will have an A in the present subjunctive. So just like formal commands, you put it in the yo form, you drop the O, and you add the opposite ending, but you do the same for all subject pronouns. So I'll show you an example in a second. So here we have doblar. So doblar means to fold. Yo doblo la ropa. También puede decir yo doblo derecha. I turn right. So to form the subjunctive, I put doblar in the yo form. I drop the O, I add the opposite ending, so it's an AR verb, so the opposite ending would be ER. So let me just fix this really quick so that you don't get totally confused and put subjunctive here. Nada es perfecto, ¿no? Es la vida. Okay, no pasa nada. Okay, so vamos a continuar. Doble in the yo form, dobles, doble, doblemos, doblais, doblen. So it is basically the opposite of what you would do in the present tense, where this would have been doblo, doblas, dobla. It's not confusing, is it? So no pasa nada. These small details get very confused. It took a really long time for me to wrap my head around the subjunctive, to be honest with you. I didn't really comprehend it. What I would do is imitate it. So I might not have understood how the structure got there, but I would imitate it. And that's one of the best ways to learn a language, is to imitate it. So I would hear people all the time say, que tenga buen día, que tenga buen día. And originally, I mean, that could be in a command form, but with the K in front of it, what's happening is that a lot of times in Spanish, people shorten sentences. So the full sentence of que tenga buen día would be quiero que tenga un buen día. So I would always hear tenga buen dia, and I would just say it. I knew it meant have a good day. I didn't necessarily understand how the structure got there until years later when I put it together. I was like, oh my gosh, tenga buen dia is short for quiero que tenga buen dia, and they're using the subjunctive. So if there's small things right now that are tripping you up, that's absolutely part of el proceso. I know I say that every time, but it's really complicado and layered. It's not in black and white. It's very gray. So know that sometimes there's so much to learn in a language. Just getting the foundation is one part, and then building from that foundation to make sense of other things is different. So I suggest, if you're really just banging your head against the wall with understanding why that grammar is, work on imitation. Hear sounds, say que tenga buen dia. You know, you don't necessarily need to know how it got there, but repeating that and knowing that means I hope you have a good day is a really good start as well. So that's just my little inspiración para ustedes hoy. So this is just showing you why it's important to put it in the yo form. For example, tener, salir, all those go verbs, they're different in the yo form. So when I do tener in the subjunctive, it's tengo. I drop the O and add the opposite ending. So it's tenga, tengas, tenga, tengamos, tengáis, tengan. So it's muy importante que ustedes ponen el verbo en el formo yo primero. It's really important that you put the verb in the yo form first. So, ejemplos. Mi esposo quiero que nos hospedemos en un hotel lujo. So, ¿puede hacer la translación? Can you do the translation? My wife wants that we stay in a luxury hotel. So usually hospedar, right? So this is the opposite ending. My wife wants that we stay in a luxury hotel. So the quiere que lets us know that we're going to be using the subjunctive. The second example, ¿quieres que te diga la verdad? Do you want me to tell you the truth? Again, quieres que. Here is your subjunctive clause, quieres que. And then decir in the yo form is digo. You drop the O, add your opposite ending, and you come up with diga. Diga, digas, diga, digamos, digais, digan. Ay, ay, ay. So the present subjunctive of stem changing verbs that end with IR have an extra stem change in the nosotros and vosotros forms, in addition to the usual stem change. So in the present tense, servir, you would be servo, the E changes to I. And in dormir, the O changes to UE, duerma. In the present tense, it would be duermo. But normally in the present tense, E doesn't change to I and O doesn't change to UE, but they do have stem changers in the subjunctive. And this is why it's complicated. There's just all these really small details that es complicado a recordar. It's complicated to remember. So in the nosotros form, in the subjunctive, it does take the change. It does in dormir as well, but it doesn't change O to UE. It changes O to U. So it's dormamos. So if you're confundida, siga. Keep going ahead. Keep following. Just keep repeating, and eventually it will happen. So in the vosotros, it's servéis. And duermes. So the E changes to the I in servir, and the O changes to U in the nosotros and vosotros in dormir. Sirvan, duerman. So thankfully, there's only, so to give you guys an example, the present subjunctive of stem changing verbs that end with IR, that's what we just saw, right? So have an extra stem changer here. So there's a couple divertir. Those aren't the only two verbs that end in IR. So divertir is the same way. And in the present tense, divertir changes E to I. And in the nosotros form, it does not. So divertamos is your answer. Nuestros abuelos quieren que nos divertamos mucho. Our grandparents want us to have a great time. The next one, Papá quiere que durmamos bien antes de hacer el viaje. So here's our dormir. In the nosotros, O changes to you in the subjunctive. And that means Dad wants us to sleep well before the trip. Antes de hacer el viaje. There are only 6 irregular verbs in the present subjunctive. Note that they spell out the acronym dishes. Dar, ir, saber, haber, estar, and ser. So 6 irregulares, but they're the same ones that are usually irregular with your formal commands. So for example, es el mismo and your command. So you've already seen their forms. So dar in the subjunctive is de, des, de, demos, des, den. Vaya, vayas, vaya, vayamos, vayáis, vayan. Saber, sepa, sepas, sepa, sepa, and sepan. Y no hay un acento aquí, right? So accents change as well. So even though there's an accent here for ir and saber, for dar, there isn't in the vosotros. And so those are an extra complicated detail to try to remember as well. So don't give yourself too much of a hard time. Haber. So remember, haber in the present tense is I. Hay dos chicos en mi clase. There are 2 boys in my class. In the present subjunctive, it's haya, hayas, haya, hayamos, hayáis, hayan. Estar, este, estes, este, estemos, estáis, estén. So a lot of times I would get an email that said, espero que estés bien. And when I wasn't really familiar with this form yet, I was like, why are they using that E with the accent? And eventually I just started imitating it, right? So I'd write it and say, espero que estés bien. I hope that you are well. And I would start my email in Spanish. And later, then I figured out the grammatical part of it. But I knew it meant, I hope that you are well. So again, I'm saying imitation works really, really well until you can figure out what it means grammatically. So don't be afraid to use imitation to learn a language. It is a very, very useful skill. Ser is sea, seas, sea, seamos, seáis, sean. So, ejemplos. ¿Quieres asistir al desfile? Bueno, quiero que vengas conmigo. You want to go to the parade? Okay, I want you to come with me. I want you to come with me, right? So it's a wish, it's a desire. That would be the subjunctive. Our second example, Papá quiere que durmamos bien antes de hacer el viaje. Oh, that's the same one. So you should be able to do that one again. Dad wants us to sleep well before the trip. Okay, so vamos a practicar el verbo querer primero. Completa las oraciones con las formas correctas del verbo querer en el presente. What I want you to do is go ahead and do 1 through 4 because my number 5 didn't animate. And conjugar el verbo querer correctamente. So you're going to conjugate the verb querer in the present tense to make sure you have that down pat. So número 1, Leti quiere que los invitados lleguen alrededor de las 8 de la noche. So remember, querer is el verbo. Y es irregular. It's a stem changer. E changes to IE when you conjugate it, except in the nosotros and vosotros form. So, Leti quiere que los invitados lleguen alrededor de las 8 de la noche. Leti wants that the guests arrive around 8 o'clock at night. Número 2, David y Leti quieren que vengan sus mejores amigos a la fiesta. David and Leti want that all of their best friends come to the party. Or David and Leti wish that all of their best friends come to the party. Número 3. David quiere que Leti compre una variedad de comida y 2 botellas de champán. ¡Ay, viva! David wishes that Letty buys a variety of food and 2 bottles of champagne. Y número 4, los amigos de David y Leto quieren que ellos hagan un playlist de las mejores canciones del año. So David and Letty's friends hope that they make a playlist with the best songs from the year. Y número 5, nosotros queremos que David y Letty nos inviten también. We wish that David and Letty invite us too. We hope that. So it could be we hope that, we wish that, depende on what word you use more. Okay, for the next examples, what I'm going to have you guys do, go ahead and put these verbos en el subjuntivo. Go ahead and put these in the subjunctive, and I will give you las respuestas. Okay, vamos a hacer las respuestas. So vamos a ver. Mi padre quiere que me divierta en las vacaciones de primavera. So muy rápido, divertirse es un verbo reflexivo, pero también es un stem changer. The E changes to IE. So it's kind of extra tricky. Me divierta. Mis amigos quieren que nosotros miremos los fuegos artificiales esta noche. My friends hope that we watch the fireworks tonight. Nuestros amigos quieren que María brinde por el cumpleaños de Manolo. Our friends want Maria to toast Manolo's birthday. Mi madre quiere que yo le diga la verdad. My mom wants me to tell her the truth. Mis padres quieren que nosotros volvamos, I'm missing my V-O-L-V-A-M-O-S, volvamos a casa para celebrar el Día de Acción de Gracias. My parents hope that we return home to celebrate Thanksgiving. Okay, espero que ustedes, I'm going to use a clause. Okay, so I said, espero que ustedes comprendan. Right? I hope that you understand la lección hoy y no estén super confundidos. I hope you're not super confused. Pero si estás confundido, if you are confused, or si estés confundido, mándame un email. Send me an email and I will be glad to help you out. So, espero que ustedes tengan un buen día. Chao.